Hey everyone, it's time for another episode of Atoms for the Love of Movie Picks. This time around, we're going to be talking about the 2002 movie ICU, starring Sylvester Stallone. Not a movie that probably many of you know. To be honest with you, I didn't know about it either. I can't remember exactly how I found it. If it was in a trailer in another movie I was watching, or I just was happening to check some certain actors' credentials and I happened to see this. But I'm kind of glad that I did. It's actually a pretty good movie, considering it's not a mainstream movie. Let's use an example of a well-known Stallone movie, Rocky. It's not quite that popular, but definitely a movie that's, considering of how little well known is, at least to me. I mean, I don't remember back in 2002 this movie coming out. Um, but yeah, all things considered, there's a lot of well known actors in this movie. So obviously, still Sylvester Stallone plays the main character. I forget, I can't see the guy's last name. It's Charles something. I recognize him. He plays his Sylvester Stallone's character is a detective called Jake Malloy. His partner is this guy named Hendricks, who Charles, whatever his last name, plays. You got Chris Christopherson in it. He plays the doctor at the rehab facility. Yeah, he's been in a ton of movies. I mean, you have to say his name. You don't even really have to give his list of credentials. Everybody knows who Chris Christopherson is. Very well known actor. Jeffrey Wright. You probably I most recognize him is from the Shaft movie, the early 2000s Shaft movie with Samuel L. Jackson. He played the bad guy in that movie. Tom Berenger, well known action actor. He's very well known from the Sniper series. Stephen Lang. You obviously probably his most well known movie. He plays the bad guy in the Avatar movie. You've also got Robert. I can't see his last name. Let me just click on it here. Robert Prosky. Yeah, he's a well-known actor. Just throwing out some of the movies he was in by his credentials. He was in Christine. He played the garage owner Will Darnell. He was in Mrs. Doubtfire. He played Mr. Lundy, the studio manager. So well-known actor. And yeah, the only other one that you might recognize from this movie is Robert Patrick. He plays one of the patients at the rehab facility. So yeah, I mean, quite a well-known list of actors that are in this movie. So basically, the premise of this movie, I'll just give you the rundown from the case. Brutal serial killer is targeting cops, and Detective Jake Malloy is on the warpath. But now the killer is making it personal, and this time, this dedicated agent is twisted in an emotional nightmare. Time is running out, and so are the options, as Malloy engages in an extreme game of cat and mouse with a killer who won't be stopped. So that's basically what the premise of it is. So, like I said, Sylvester Stallone plays the main character, lead detective Jake Malloy, who is in charge of the case of trying to catch the serial cop killer. The killer, I'm not giving too much away because it happens very early in the movie. It just kind of sets the stage for the movie. The killer actually targets and kills Malloy's fiance. Oh, that's another one that's in this movie. Dina Meyer, very short role. Obviously, she's only in the movie for like a couple of scenes. Plays his fiance Mary. Dina Meyer, you probably most recognize her. She's in the first Starship Trooper movie. She plays Dizzy Flores. So yeah, she gets killed by this killer. It kind of really sets off Malloy. Like he basically, she was his world. He really feels he has nothing to live for. He becomes depressed. He becomes an alcoholic. He basically selling his house. Like his whole world is imploded basically. And yeah, and sells his house. And yeah, he ends up trying to kill himself, and that's how he ends up at this rehab facility. One of the note I forgot to mention is shortly after the killer kills his fiance, he himself is hangs himself and kills himself before the cops can actually catch him. So yeah, Malloy, he ends up at the rehab facility. This particular rehab facility is kind of out in the middle of nowhere. The one thing about the movie I could never really catch is where exactly the movie takes place. Like both the initial scenes with the killer and where Malloy lives, and and then where this actual rehab facility is. I never could catch that in the movie, but it's out in some cold, remote wilderness place. Yeah, so the rehab facility is only for cops, and basically that's where I'd say like 65-70% of the movie actually takes place is at this rehab facility. What's going on there is kind of what the movie is about. Um, yeah, and basically, like as the movie goes along, the patients start dying off one by one. At first they kind of just look like accidents because a lot of these cops are there because they have drug addictions or they're alcohol or have tried to commit suicide or a combination thereof. And some of them, as they die off, it looks like a drug overdose or they committed suicide. But then some of the deaths kind of start, not making sense. Like, why would this happen or why would that happen? And they realize they're actually being killed off one by one. There's a big surprise at the end. Really good plot twist that you kind of don't see coming. I'm not going to give too much away because it kind of ruins it. Overall, though, ICU, for a movie that I'd never really heard of, is surprisingly very good watch. Very suspenseful, keeps you interested pretty much the entire movie, kind of makes you wonder what's going to happen next. Yeah, very well done. I didn't even look to see who the director was. Yeah, it's not anybody that I recognize, but still, over really well done. Like production quality of it is very good, very good script, and the acting. Like I said, lots of top notch acting in this movie. So it's just kind of the icing on the cake for this particular movie. So yeah, ICU, highly recommend it. Don't know if it's available on any streaming platform, but I mean you can pretty much find it in any movie store for a really cheap price. The only thing is, it is definitely a rated R movie. I mean, just based on some of the stuff I'm talking about, it's obviously not meant for kids, but it's actually rated R. So anybody under the age of 18, I do not recommend watching this movie. It deals with a lot of mature scenes. You got violence, gun violence, knife violence. Suicides. You got alcohol, drugs. Murder. It's everything you could think of in a movie that is not recommended for kids. But for an adult movie, highly recommend ICU. Give it a watch, and we'll see you in the next one, folks. Take care.